All right, so we're out here in Myeongdong, and it's one of the busiest areas in perhaps the world. Definitely one of the busiest in Asia. A lot of cars, a lot of people, a lot of tourists. Look at this crosswalk and how much activity is going on now. I want you to imagine for a second a grandma is walking across. It's a red light. All the cars stopped. Everybody stops for this grandma. And she's slowly walking her way. And she's holding up traffic. What do you think about this situation? So there was a video posted on YouTube a long time ago of just that situation. Grandma, she had a stroller and she was slowly inching her way. She was inching her way across a super busy intersection. And this guy got out of the car, helped her across. And I wrote a comment on the video saying, she's holding up traffic. And man, people got mad. People got super pissed that I would say anything like that. All the comments were praising the guy who helped her across. And this is an interesting thing, because I've asked my friends about this, close friends, and even family members. And holy shit, people get pissed that I'm even bringing up this subject. Of course, you have to help that grandma. Are you crazy? What's wrong with you? Just the fact that I'm even asking this question. Is it okay for the grandma to hold up traffic, right? So then what I'll say is, okay, what if there's an ambulance behind with the person who's about to die? Very feasible possibility, right? And the grandma's holding up traffic. All she had to do was wait, like 30 seconds, wait for the green light, right? And if I bring that up, they get even more mad. People get pissed when I ask questions like this. It's sacrosanct. You can't even talk about this. What's wrong with you? So a couple of things. I mean, what's interesting about this to me is that why can't we ask questions like this? I've thought about this a lot over the years, and I think part of the reason that people get so offended is it's like when they see that grandma and they see the guy helping her across. Maybe the grandma's really frail. Maybe it reminds them of their own grandma. And people's feelings start, coming up. They start getting into it with all their emotions and their compassion and empathy and all this stuff. And then it's like, I'm just throwing cold water over all that. And I think people hate that. It's like, why are you disturbing my moment of, compassionate drama? What's wrong with you? I think that's one thing. I think another thing is like just basic instinct, right? We have most people have a sense of morality and they have a conscience, and you're designed to be offended and react to things that are morally reprehensible. That's a good thing, right? You should react that way. But I haven't done anything bad. I'm just asking a question. The third thing that I really don't like about this, and I've seen it in some people that I know that I've talked to about this, is that they're basically like, why are you making my head hurt? This is like, it's way too much inquiry and thought. And I don't like it. I don't like thinking about stuff, right? That drives me crazy. I fucking hate that. Like, Use your brain, Jesus Christ. Think about stuff, right? Maybe you'll learn something about life and the world. To those people, well, to the first and the third, I finally found an answer to this. So I was listening to a podcast by Paul Bloom and Sam Harris. Paul Bloom is one of my favorite psychologists. He studies something called the psychology of morality. So he's the guy asking these types of questions. So it's right up my alley. He'll ask like, why do we love? And people will be like, oh, what do you mean, why do we love? It's a stupid question. And the way he explains it, he says, at some point in human history, asking the question, why does an apple fall from the tree, was a stupid question. People were like, what the fuck? What's wrong with you? Of course, apple's going to fall from the tree. What's it going to do? Rise up into the heavens? No. But someone asked that question, right? Isaac Newton asked that question, discovered gravity. And now, in the world of like physics and chemistry, like in the world of physical stuff, it's okay to ask simple questions like that because people know that that's how you advance as a civilization. But to ask questions about morality, people get really upset, right? And it's something that we're going to have to get over. But anyway, so he pointed to a certain study, and then Sam Harris said, oh, that's Paul Slovic. So I looked up Paul Slovic, a really interesting guy. I'm going to read a lot on this guy. He's a professor at the University of Oregon, I believe. And he has something called psychic numbing. And it would go basically like this, and this is how my argument would be. If there was one grandma walking across the street and holding up traffic, and she was frail, everyone would be like, oh, poor grandma. But if there were two grandmas walking across the street, then people might start getting annoyed. Now, to set this up properly, we'll assume that both of them walking across, holding up traffic would be the exact same amount of time holding up traffic that it would be for just one grandma walking across, right? But if you do it with two grandmas walking across, people wouldn't feel so bad about that grandma. Now, imagine if you had a gang of grandmas, say 15 to 20 grandmas, again, same time, they're both, all in every situation, they're holding up traffic for 30 seconds, okay? If it was a gang of grandmas, people might actually start complaining, what's wrong with you grandmas? Why can't you wait a little bit? You're holding up traffic. And I'm pretty sure that's exactly what would happen. I would love to do an actual experiment on this. But according to Paul Slovic's research, this is the phenomenon of psychic numbing. It's why people can get, and this is Paul Bloom or Sam Harris's, on their podcast, that episode of the podcast, they use this example of a girl who gets caught in a well. Oh no, this was Paul Bloom's example. There's a girl who gets caught in a well, and she's really pretty and she's really young, and everyone's fawning and like getting upset and getting scared and sad, and people are crying and everything. But there's like 100 people across town who just got murdered because there was a factory burning down or something. This is my example. I don't remember what he compared it to. So the phenomenon of psychic numbing is that the larger the number of people, the less you feel bad about them, the less you feel empathetic and sympathetic towards them. So if you have 1 million migrants, refugees running from chaos and war, you don't take care of them, but the one guy who got his arm cut off because he had to like cut his arm off because he got caught in the desert in some cave and he couldn't get out. That's all over the news, right? And this is the phenomenon of psychic numbing. I think the lesson here is that if we go back to my example with the grandma, is that I don't think that feeling for the grandma has anything to do with consideration for that grandma. I think it's more about our own basic instincts, our own feelings, our own emotions, right? It's much easier, and this is another thing about life and people. The reality is that it's so easy to dwell on your emotions and get caught up in it. Anybody can do it. It just turns on and you don't have to do any work. But to actually sit down and think, calculate, do logical reasoning and figure out, is this actually a good thing? That's hard work. And people just don't like doing it. You know, most people are lazy asses and they don't like using their brain, right? So imagine if this grandma did this every day. She just held up traffic. And let's say one day there was an ambulance that was carrying someone across, and it was, you know, God forbid, but it would be something like a daughter who was sick, and she had to get to the hospital. On the way, you know, grandma held up traffic, the daughter died, and then everyone would be like, what should we focus on? What should we do? You know, because they're just trying to use their emotions to think through this. I mean, to me, it's very clear. The grandma should be cited. Every time she does it, she should be given a citation. She should not be holding up traffic. Wait the fucking 30 seconds for it to turn green. If you need help, arrange it beforehand. Don't hold up traffic. Don't be a burden to society. It doesn't matter if you're a grandma or a little kid or healthy, unhealthy. It has nothing to do whatsoever with the traffic situation, you getting to where you want to get to. Right? Take a fucking taxi if you need to, okay? You know, to me, the moral responsibility is incumbent on all people. Doesn't matter if you're a grandma or not. You're an adult, and you know. So I'm gonna talk more about Paul Bloom. I just started listening to him again. He's got this amazing book called Against Empathy. It talks about why empathy is actually very harmful in a lot of ways, which is like kind of a shocking thing. And another thing that people will be like, what the fuck are you talking about? How can empathy be a harmful thing? We need to be more empathetic. But there are a lot of amazing insights in that book that I want to talk about. And then I got to do more research on this Paul Slovic guy. This is very cool stuff. Very interesting, very insightful.